This is the plaintiff, Paula Fernandez. She says she purchased a townhouse from the defendant, and he didn't tell her there was a terrible termite problem in the entire building. In fact, the reason the defendant sold the unit was because of the well-known termite problem. If she'd known about the issue, she wouldn't have purchased the place. Now, she's out $1,900.97 in fumigation and cleaning fees. And she's here suing for just that today. This is the defendant, Herman Montenegro. He says the unit or the building had no violations attached to it, and it was only after the closing with the plaintiff that the management company decided to fumigate the entire building. At the time of the sale, there was nothing for him to disclose. He thinks he'll win this case with his eyes closed and doesn't owe the plaintiff a dime. He's accused of bugging out a buyer. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $700 for lost wages and time wasted.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says the townhome she bought from the defendant was infested with termites and says that the defendant knew it when he sold it to her. But the defendant says the building had no violations at the time of the sale and all her issues were after the closing. It's the case of you really bug me.
Okay. Ms. Rana or Ms. Fernandez Rana?
Fernandez Rana.
Fernandez Rana. You bought a townhouse?
Correct.
And you bought it in September of 2019?
Correct, September 12th of 2019.
All right. The closing was scheduled for when?
It was September 12th.
And when had you actually bought it?
That was the closing.
When did you go into contract?
August 10th.
August 10th. So that was pretty quick. Okay. After you move in, what happens? You bought it from the defendant.
Correct. He did not use a real estate agent. He sold the house himself. And
how long had it been for sale when it went under contract?
Actually, not long.
How long? Do you know or no?
2 weeks.
How long?
2 weeks.
So you had put it for sale when? End of July? How did you place it on the market?
I went to Zillow.com and listed.
Great. So when did it go on Zillow? You don't know. Do you know when you saw it on Zillow?
The house was listed for sale on the MLS on July 29th.
Okay. Does that sound right? That shouldn't be so hard. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about what happens. You move in and what happens?
A few weeks after moving in, one of my neighbors approached me and said, "What are you doing about the fumigation?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Oh, didn't Herman tell you?" I said, "No." She said, the entire building, the structure has 8 units in it. And she said the entire building has to be tented. There are now 3 units in the building, and this is a few weeks after I moved in, that all have termites. It had started in 1 unit, but the termites had spread to 2 more units. And we were told that there is no way to spot clean, that the entire unit had to be tented. And Herman knew about this, and he had agreed to the tenting all the way back in July. I have emails between him and the property manager where they discuss it, and he agrees, yes, he will do the fumigation.
What are the dates of those emails?
July, it was into
July.
July.
When he agrees, it's what date?
It's July 28th.
Okay. And the next day he puts it on the market?
Yes, 2 days later he puts it on the market.
Okay. So suffice it to say, you never discussed any of that with her, right?
Yes. To clarify, my townhouse at the time, did not have any termite. It was termite-free. And also, there was a lot of discussion between me and the association. But this never was a fact. It was never a special assessment. It was always a talk, let's try to find out, let's try to find a solution. Let's see what we can do, et cetera.
Okay, and at some point you do tell them, well, I guess if everybody else is doing it, then yeah, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, because according to the law.
But then the very next day you put it on for sale. Well, so you weren't really in.
No, I put it on for sale because I have a job offer. I didn't know it was going to be sold in 2 weeks. I mean, there's no way for me to tell.
That's right.
That it's going to sell in 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 month, 2 months, et cetera. Right. So my main point here is that this never ended up being a special assessment.
Right. It wasn't something that was levied against your unit as a special assessment.
Exactly.
It was something discussed. You filled out a seller's disclosure, correct?
Yes.
Do you have the disclosure on you?
I do.
May I see the disclosure?
Yes.
Each of these units, each of these townhouses has a different address?
Yes,
Yes.
they're actually independent. Everything is independent.
But they're not independent because they
No,
share
they all
walls,
share walls.
And a roof.
Yep.
And here it is. And
So let's read, before you go on to the next thing,
I'm sorry.
You know, I know this part doesn't help you, but we're going to discuss it anyway. Termites, because that's number 2 on the official disclosure for Florida. Are termites other wood-destroying organisms, including fungi or pests, present on the property, or has the property had any structural damage by them? Answer, no. And that is the address of your specific unit. Do you have any evidence that there were termites at that address?
No, not at the address.
Now, has the property been treated for termites, other wood-destroying organisms, including fungi or pests? Answer, no. Do you have any evidence that his address had been treated for termites or anything else?
No.
All right. He didn't lie here.
I did not.
I wouldn't want to be your friend because I think you play fast and loose with the rules. I think it's reprehensible. I would never. I live by the following motto: if you have to ask, disclose. I was a lawyer for years. I was a prosecutor. You'd sit there, you'd look at the evidence. Do I have to show this to the... If you have to ask the question, you disclose, right? Because you don't want problems. You don't want bad juju, right? But what I have to decide here is not whether he has to meet his maker at the pearly gates and explain the seediness of a decision not to share that with you. I have to decide if he violated the law. So if he lied here, he violated the law. He didn't lie here.
I did not.
Yeah, I don't need a cheerleader. So, and you're not doing too well with me personally, so just zip it. All right? So he didn't lie. So now there's another question, right? Which is, did he somehow create some legal obligation for you that you had to abide by that he should have told you about because it affects the value of your place? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
let's discuss that.
Yes.
Was there a legal obligation just because he said, there's no disputing that he told them, yeah, okay, I'm in. I've seen the emails. He doesn't dispute it. He told them, yeah, all right, I'll pay my share. He goes, well, all right, did everybody else say yes? All right, if everybody else say yes, I'll say yes. All right.
Can I mention one thing?
Yeah.
2 of the other homeowners did not want to go along with the tenting.
So what happened?
They went to court and they lost. And the judge said, and the pest control person from Orkin, the representative came and he testified that once there are termites in one unit,
Then
and at this point,
they're gonna spread.
They're gonna spread.
Right, I understand
You
that,
have
but
to
see,
tent the whole
that's a
thing.
different issue. That answers the following question, which is not in front of me. Can a homeowners association compel the resident to go through the termite tenting that they schedule and specially assess? See, when you live in a townhouse or a condo, you are subject to their special assessments that they come up with at some point.
Right.
You may not like it. You can fight it in court. If they're overreaching, you'll win. But if it's something like this, you probably won't. But that's separate and distinct from the question that I have to ask here, which is, does his telling them okay create some legal obligation for you? Or was there a legal obligation there anyway, and he didn't create anything?
Well,
you see? So let me ask you a question. What did the homeowners association, where do they stand on all this? What do they say they said or did? Because you had a title lawyer, right, who did due diligence. And so what do they say? They say they sent your title lawyer something talking about the imminent
They sent
tenting.
the original estoppel, which was in the closing documents on September 12th, when I bought the house, did not mention anything about the termites.
But then they claim they sent it to your lawyer.
Yes, they claim they caught the mistake, and they included the verbiage that the owner, Herman, had agreed to the fumigation, and that the fumigation would take place after closing.
So they provided you a copy because you had great due diligence. You were constantly asking them to give you emails between Herman and them.
Right, and I didn't get that till October.
Right.
So I never saw it, and I have an email even from my closing agent that says, I never got this, and I
Did
don't
they ever
buy.
provide you with proof that they gave him that?
No. No. So they were trying to cover themselves too. But the statement, if I can find it here, specifically says that Herman had agreed to the
I
tenting.
understand. An estoppel letter is kind of like saying, hey, listen, these are problems you should be aware of. And so they're claiming that they sent an estoppel letter to your lawyer, really your title agent, who happens to be a lawyer.
He was a lawyer, yeah.
Right, to your title agent, and they have his email on the estoppel letter, and they claim to have sent it to him, and he claims to have never received it.
Yes.
I don't know who's telling the truth between all of them. That's, that's between all of them.
Right.
But I have one issue to decide here today. And the one issue is there anything he did that created a legal obligation in you to have to pay for this? And there's nothing he did. Just telling them, yeah, I'll pay for it, doesn't matter. The best proof of that is what you contributed to me a moment ago about how if you had fought it, you wouldn't have won. If they had come up with it, there's nothing. If he had lied here, shame on you. If there had been a special assessment and you didn't know about it, shame on you, because this has a form for that too, a place for that too. If there had been anything other than his flapping gums, then shame on you. But his flapping gums create no legal obligation. Okay? So you could have done the same as those guys did and held out for as long as you wanted, and then you would have lost also. Because you are the present owner, and when they're deciding to do it, you're the person who's the owner. But even if I don't feel good about him not telling you about his discussions, that's not enough for me to say, you gotta be kidding me. Pay her $1,900, the cost of a fumigation, the cost of boarding your dogs, which, how does he know you have dogs, and the cost of cleaning up afterwards because you didn't want poison gas around. I can only order him to do that if there's a legal obligation he breached. And there isn't. It wasn't a special assessment at the time. It was just a conversation. And you could have said, well, I don't care what he said. I'm the owner now, and I say no. And then what would happen is there'd be a special assessment, and you'd have to pay it.
So even though
there's chit-chat about a potential liability, chit-chat isn't a liability. Now, you may have a lawsuit against the HOA. I don't know. But, nobody wants to sue their HOA when they just walk in there and stuff. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you want to tell them, listen, this is wrong. And you owe me, for this money that I had to go. You didn't send it to my lawyer, and don't nod. Just stop. Just don't do anything, all right? You didn't send it to my lawyer, and you should have, and I don't want to do it, and I'm not going to do it. I don't know that you'd fare better than the others, because when something has to be done in a place you own, you got to pay. So now you have a counterclaim against her for $700?
Yes.
For what?
I lost work. I'm supposed to be working today, and I'm missing that payment.
I got a way you might not have gotten sued. Be a better person and just say it. Tell her, hey, I just found out yesterday the whole place had to be 10. But you didn't. You know why? Because you wanted to sell it at the price you wanted to sell it, and you didn't want to take a penny less. That's why you're here. She has a litigable case. It's not like she made up a lawsuit against you. You're winning, but that doesn't mean it's a preposterous case. She's not paying you one penny. On your lawsuit against her, $0. Unfortunately, on your lawsuit against him, the same. I think it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. Do you like the place?
I love the place.
Good.
I love the place.
Good. All right. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you.
So, both parties failed to prevail in their respective lawsuits. Ms. Fernandez, you got a pretty good legal explanation of your basis and where you stand here.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I'm very disappointed because I think that I did have a very, very strong case. I understand what the judge said, and we have to accept it. But
you thought it was strong.
I thought it was very strong. And
she pulled it apart, though.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. But you said you might have a case against the HOA, but that may not be the best thing for you.
Yeah, at this point. Okay.
Thank you very much. All right. Mr. Montenegro, do you feel guilty by not at least alerting her?
No, I played by the rules. I did what I had to do, and I have no remorse.
Okay. The judge agreed with you. All right. Thank you very much. You can sign some documents. Harvey, what you think?
Well, despite the law requiring disclosures of problems, when you buy a townhome, anything like that, don't just check your unit. Check the entire building.